Judicial Watch, our heavy lifting is getting some significant results. There's really historic results in the form of an admission by the Justice Department that the transcripts of the audio of the interviews that Joe Biden was subject to in the special counsel investigation of his mishandling of classified information and theft, the transcripts were messed with. They don't reflect accurately what was in the audio. Now, we all kind of guessed that was going to be the case because it explained why they were so desperate to hide this information from us. Why it is that Attorney General Garland is willing to go to jail in theory over this. He could be found in contempt of Congress, assuming Congress gets its act together, at least the House does, for failing to obey a subpoena from the House to turn those audio tapes and other material over. And what happened is late Friday, it was at 11 o'clock at night last Friday, the government filed a brief. It was an extraordinary brief, extraordinary not in a good way, extraordinary in a bad way, meaning they put forth a lot of new arguments that really had no basis in law, as best we could see, to withhold these audio tapes from you, the American people. And included in this filing was a confession by a lawyer who did the right thing. You can imagine they were very nervous about what they found. But, you know, there is sometimes ethics that still emerges now and again from the Justice Department. And the lawyer who admitted to this, you know, he tried to downplay it a little bit, but the admission was going to be, they must have known it was going to be pretty powerful in terms of its impact in the public discussion about this. The Nixonian messing around with tapes. I mean, this is the file. This is a simple FOIA. This is a simple, by the way, we're asking for one document. The audios. I think they got 2 tapes. Maybe it's 4 tapes, but they just have a few tapes. Because they had 2 recordings going. And they had 2 interviews, so maybe there are 4 tapes. Well, either way. And this is what they filed. This is what, 800 pages? Is that what you told me, Matt? 800 pages. After handling these documents, I don't need to go to the gym today. And in the documents, they say, I've never seen anything like this in the context of FOIA. We can't have them, because the audios, because executive privilege. Executive privilege doesn't apply in this context to withholding documents. Executive privilege typically is for advice sought by and received by the President of the United States. Not an interview of something that's, first of all, the transcript is public, as they want to remind us every 3 minutes. An interview of a president in a criminal investigation. He wasn't seeking advice when Hur questioned him. Now, to go back, the reason they don't want this audio released, it's clear, is because it shows that Joe Biden has significant cognitive challenges, and that Hur was fair in saying that it shows that, you know, he has no memory based on these audios and his interaction with them. And that's a political negative for him. I mean, I don't know why he thinks it says, I mean, have you seen videos of him walking around and his reaction to questions and just being out of it? There's a Wall Street Journal piece today, devastating analysis of his behind-the-scenes behavior, which mimics his. But I think I tweeted the first line of it up. I don't know. Do we still have that, Sean? Yeah, behind closed doors, Biden shows signs of slipping. So here's the first line. Let's go to the first line. This is in the Wall Street Journal. When President Biden met with congressional leaders in the West Wing in January to negotiate a Ukraine funding deal, he spoke so softly at times that some participants struggled to hear him, according to 5 people familiar with the meeting. He read from notes to make obvious points, paused for extended periods, and sometimes closed his eyes for so long that some in the room wondered whether he had tuned out. So they're describing not me running these weekly updates. It's the President of the United States in meetings with senior levels of government, senior leaders of government. Now, the story goes on in that regard. Time magazine had similar language in their big interview with President Biden as well. And I guess the audio is just going to further confirm all of this, right? So that's why they're coming up with all these scam arguments to withhold this information from us under FOIA. But Judicial Watch filed the first lawsuit on this. Heritage followed up with a lawsuit a month later. And CNN and I think 12 or 13 other media companies are now with us in this lawsuit as well. But we broke open this case and forced them to come back with extraordinary political and lawless arguments to justify something that's indefensible, which is the withholding of this audio. So executive privilege doesn't apply. They say privacy applies. It doesn't apply. The president he's not a private figure. The transcript's out. He's one of the most public figures in the history of the world. What privacy interest does he have in this? And isn't the public interest in knowing why Hur did what he did? By the way, Hur gave him a get-out-of-jail-free card based on this analysis that his memory was false. And they're denying his memory was false, the Biden White House. So we want to know what the truth is. And the audio Hur relied upon in order to hide this from us. And the kicker is, they were telling us the transcript's good enough. It's an accurate recitation of what went on. And in the course of this brief, there is an extraordinary admission by a senior lawyer in the Justice Department. I have to get the whole thing. I mean, he's not just a senior lawyer, he's like the senior lawyer in the Justice Department. Let me go to the... So in FOIA cases, oftentimes they'll have an official kind of go under oath to explain the basis or bolster the basis for withholding a particular document. I mean, never has so much ink been spilled to hide just one document. Really, I mean, exaggerating, but I think it's really true. So Bradley Weisenheimer, it's not Weisenheimer, excuse me. It's Weinsheimer. He's Associate Deputy Attorney General for the Department of Justice. He serves as the highest ranking career official in the department. So he is the most senior lawyer in the Justice Department in terms of the career civil service. So there are political appointees, obviously, he reports to. But he's the top of the top in terms of the career civil service in the Justice Department. And he makes this confession, and I'm sure it pained him to do so. On page 13 and 14, excuse me, not 13, paragraphs 13 and 14. After the interview, special counsel's office, these are the interviews with Biden, created written transcripts of the audio recording with the assistance of a trained professional court reporter, one transcript for each day of the interview. I have read the entirety of the written transcripts of the interview, As I listened to the audio recording, I compared it to the transcripts of the audio recording and specifically listened for differences between the transcripts and the audio recording. In a few instances, the transcripts indicate that some words from the audio recording are indiscernible. In listening to the audio recording and reviewing the transcripts, I agree that in those instances the words are indiscernible. So the words are indiscernible, no one can hear what they are. And that sometimes happens in audios. The interview transcripts are accurate transcriptions of the words of the interview contained in the audio recording, except for minor instances such as the use of filler words, such as or ah, when speaking that are not always reflected on the transcripts, or when words may have been repeated when spoken, such as I, and, but sometimes was only listed a single time in the transcripts. Besides these exceedingly minor differences, based on my simultaneous review of the transcripts while listening to the audio recording, the transcripts accurately captured the words spoken during the interview on the audio recording with no material differences between the audio recording and transcripts. Well, that I don't believe. None of the minor differences included any audible substantive changes. That is, based on my review, there is no material omission. Material there, that's a big word in the legal sense, doing a lot of work there. Material omission of words between the audio recording and transcripts. Special Counsel Hur and FBI personnel who attended the interview and compared the audio recording to the transcripts also informed me of their determination that the transcripts accurately reflect the words spoken on the audio recording, aside from the minor instances I described above. Special Counsel Hur emphasized to me that it was important for purposes of his investigation that the interview transcripts be accurate. Now, that is a confession that the transcript is inaccurate and has been tampered with, in the sense that it's not an accurate recitation and reflection, and there's nothing ordinary about it. I responded over the weekend. I had to do a quick response because of the breaking news. Here's what I said initially.
Breaking news, the Biden administration just admitted they messed with the transcript of Joe Biden's audio interviews with the special counsel, Robert Hur. You may recall he doesn't want to turn the audios over. He's citing executive privilege. He's citing personal privacy as well. And Judicial Watch has sued for these records, the audios, in federal court, and they just filed a brief last night, 11 p.m. on a Friday, saying the audio transcripts are not accurate. They deleted words like or what he double spoke, like and, or I, kind of like a stutter. All of that obviously helps him politically and for his campaign. And it's not ordinary. It's not normal. Legal transcripts, interview transcripts, deposition transcripts are not supposed to be altered in this fashion. And it's a real scandal. It's a Nixonian scandal. Don't you agree? So in addition to kind of fighting for the release of these records in the FOIA case that Judicial Watch is pursuing that forced this admission to what everyone suspected, that they were messing with the transcript to protect Joe, we just filed a new FOIA request to investigate that Nixonian tampering with evidence.
And this is what I said in the press release. Wow, Judicial Watch's FOIA lawsuit forced the Biden team to admit what everyone suspected, that the transcript is not accurate, was changed in a way to help Biden. There's nothing ordinary about this, and the transcript inaccuracy issues seem to help Biden's political campaign needs. We today initiated a new FOIA request on the Biden's Nixonian, on this Biden's Nixonian tape scandal. So we've got the FOIA lawsuit. Now we have a new FOIA request to figure out what the heck went on in terms of the cover-up in the new FOIA lawsuit we just filed.
Finally, as if on cue, 5 days later, on October 19th, 51 former intel officials signed a letter with the now famous sentence, "The Biden laptop story has all the classic earmarks of a Russian information operation."
Look, they all knew adverse information about Hunter and Joe Biden was going to come out, and they all knew what to do when it happened. And I don't think you needed to make a lot of phone calls once it came out for them to start pushing their narratives. I mean, how many phone calls did it take to get that 51-person letter to be signed, lying to the American people about Hunter laptop being disinformation? Well, by the documents we're seeing, not that many phone calls, all of which were originating from the Biden campaign.
The guy who put the whole letter together, Mike Morrell, former acting director of the CIA, he said we did it because we wanted Joe Biden to have something to use against President Trump in the final debate, and we wanted that because we wanted Joe Biden to win. It was with their title. All 51 had their title on there, giving it the weight that this has got to be accurate, when in fact it wasn't.
Well, it gave a talking point to Joe Biden that the media could also echo and latch on to, that this story was to be ignored and cast aside. And it was an abuse of these individual security clearances, because we trust them because they have national security clearances. They have access to information the rest of us don't have. And they put out a political talking point that was based on political expediency rather than a truthful analysis of what the laptop was and what its implications were.
Well, it reminds you a lot of psychological operations. I mean, the military's been doing psychological operations for a long time, and you had a concerted effort by multiple government agencies, which kind of meddled in our election, it meddled in the COVID affairs and other things, as far as, trying to influence Americans or sway their opinions in a different way, or even censor Americans who spoke out against the narrative that was being pushed.
Hey everyone, Judicial Watch just uncovered new documents from the CIA showing that the agency rushed through approval of that Hunter laptop letter signed by the 51 former Intel officials to help Joe Biden just before the election. Mike Morrell, a Hillary Clinton supporter, Obama appointee, and obviously an anti-Trumper, sent the letter at 6 a.m. saying it was a rush job. Sure enough, the CIA responded and approved the publication of that Biden campaign document within 6 hours. It's an astonishing turnaround for what is obviously a Biden campaign document. And to me, these new emails are demonstrable evidence that the CIA interfered in the 2020 election.
Hey everyone, huge news. My new Judicial Watch book will be out soon, Rights and Freedoms in Peril. It comes out in October, but you can pre-order it now. Be sure to go to our website, judicialwatchbook.com, judicialwatchbook.com. It's a great way to educate yourself about the current crisis, the left's ongoing attack on our constitutional republic, while supporting Judicial Watch. Buy the book now.